we're covering one of the most critical decision points for a food service manager: employee exclusion versus restriction. The ServSafe Manager exam will absolutely test your ability to distinguish between these two actions. An exclusion means the employee is not allowed to enter or work in the food service operation at all. A restriction means the employee can work, but is limited to tasks that do not involve exposed food, clean equipment, utensils, or linens. First, let's focus on the conditions that require immediate exclusion. If an employee is experiencing vomiting or diarrhea, they must be excluded from the operation. A key detail the exam will try to trip you up on is the return to work criteria. The employee must be symptom-free for at least 24 hours without the use of medication, or have a written release from a medical practitioner. An exam question might describe a cook who took medicine to stop their symptoms. They still cannot return to work because the 24-hour symptom-free period hasn't been met naturally. The second automatic exclusion is jaundice, which is a yellowing of the skin or eyes. This is a primary symptom of hepatitis A. An employee with jaundice must be excluded and also reported to the local regulatory authority. To return, they need both a written release from a doctor and approval from that regulatory authority. The third reason for exclusion is if the employee has been diagnosed with one of the big 6 pathogens: norovirus, hepatitis A, Shigella, Shiga toxin-producing E. coli, STEC, Salmonella typhi, or non-typhoidal salmonella. Just like with jaundice, returning to work after a diagnosis requires clearance from both a medical professional and the regulatory authority. Now, let's discuss restriction. The primary trigger for restricting an employee is when they have a sore throat with a fever. In this case, you restrict them from working with or around food and food contact surfaces. They could be reassigned to duties like taking out the trash, mopping floors, or performing clerical work. However, this leads to the single most common exam trap on this topic. If the establishment primarily serves a highly susceptible population, such as a nursing home, hospital, or daycare center, that same employee with a sore throat and fever must be excluded, not just restricted. The exam will present a scenario, and you must identify the population being served to make the correct choice between restriction and exclusion. To help you remember this, use this phrase: vomit, diarrhea, jaundice, or a big 6 diagnosis, exclude, you must exit. A sore throat with a fever, restrict, you're reassigned to the rear. But always remember to ask yourself if the population is highly susceptible, which would elevate that sore throat with a fever to a full exclusion. As the manager, you are required to document these decisions and actions. For free practice questions, AI-powered explanations, and more exam prep tools, visit openexamprep.com. That's openexamprep, all one word, .com.